It's time for ACC Central, presented by College Baseball Central. Hosted by Monty Taylor, Micah Butel, and Nick Dioli.
Welcome back to another episode of ACC Central. It's another team preview. By the time this comes out, this airs, we will be 7 days from college baseball. I'm joined by Nick and Micah. The whole gang's here. We'll start with you, Nick. How are you doing, and why are you not decked out in the proper gear?
I haven't been decked out in any of the gear because you guys have more gear than me.
NC State would disagree. I saw that. Micah, how are you doing?
I brought my Pitt Panther with me for the podcast today. Thought it only makes sense that a Panther make an appearance at the beginning of the show.
Wait, you can't do that. You can't do that. I thought Oscar was a Clemson guy.
You can have a Coastal and an Atlantic team. Oscar still believes in the 2018 ACC, okay?
That's gone, though. That's gone. You got to pick. You got to pick. Oscar can't be a bandwagon, Micah.
Oscar likes Permanis. I call it Permanis because it's gone. We're calling it that from now on, Monty. It's Permani Brothers.
Per Monty, it's delightful.
Per Monty. Per Monty is delightful. No, I mean, I'm good. I'm trying to get the SEC off me. Took a couple showers. I don't know if it's completely gone yet, Monty, but we're getting there slowly but surely because I spent the weekend with the most loved guy in college baseball. Did you know that?
No, you didn't. You're the most loved. He's not even. No. Anyway, yeah, we've got a great preview show with going today. It's going to be the Pitt Panthers, our beloved Pitt Panthers. We had them, I believe, they ended up at 12 in our preseason power rankings, if I remember correctly. We're high on this team, but they've got a tough schedule. We'll get into that a little bit later. But any thoughts on Pitt before we start talking about departures and newcomers?
You look really good in Pitt colors, Monty.
I was told that I look good in this color.
It's your color. I decided, because I don't own a Pitt shirt. It's one of the few teams in the ACC I don't own a shirt of. But I also made the executive decision to wear what I wore the last time I went to a Pitt baseball game, which was the Pitt hat with UVA gear. So I thought it was only fitting to just match the vibes.
What is interesting is we are recording this a couple of days in advance. They are playing in basketball, and shockingly, Virginia is winning.
That would explain why the marketing guy at Pitt texted me a very obscene comment about Kyle Guy, because he went to Louisville, so he doesn't like Kyle Guy. And I was like, why would he randomly send that? That makes sense. Clearly, basketball, Micah, is not a thing.
Yeah, we have skipped right to baseball. I have, so I just put on noise for my dogs so that they don't bark as much. And
you're making them listen to Virginia basketball? Yo, someone call animal control right now. PETA needs to get on the phone.
They ended up coming into the room because them. But let's bring up the key departures, and my goodness, there are some key departures. Notably, CJ Funk, Dom Popa, they are both gone. They've played a ton of games for Pitt. Phil Fox, Jack Sokol, Ryan Andrade on the pitching side. They only lose one transfer in Justin Fogel, so that's good news. But Micah, talk to me a little bit about CJ Funk and what his loss could mean for this Pitt team.
That's not what I thought you were going to ask me about. But, I mean, obviously, right, you lose a key production in the offensive lineup. You also lose, what was a leader on that team last year. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Monty, but when they got I wouldn't say hot down the stretch, right, but when they worked their way into the ACC tournament, CJ Funk was swinging a hot bat. And so obviously that's something that, is tough to lose. But I mean, he also I think he played in every game, didn't he? I know he played. If he didn't play in every game, he maybe missed one or two max. So obviously just losing everyday production is tough, especially for a program like Pitt who, right, always going to have the struggles of, recruiting in the Mid-Atlantic region. But yeah, I'm sad to see him gone. Also going to miss talking to his dad. His dad was a one-of-one guy.
Yeah, Funk, Popa, and Bishke played in every single game. CJ Funk played in 160 games for Pitt over his career. Popa played in 140. So those are two guys that were program staples that are out of that. Who did you think I was going to ask about?
I thought you were going to go somewhere on the pitching side of Phil Fox, but I guess like you probably want to talk about that because for me, that's the biggest loss for Pitt I know their pitching staff wasn't the greatest in the conference, but you basically lost your entire rotation and your closer.
Former Gardner-Webb legend, Phil Fox, by the way.
Did not know he was at Gardner-Webb before.
I did not know about it until I was on campus at Gardner-Webb, mentioning guys that come from smaller programs and make the jump to Pitt. And Jim Chester, the coach at Gardner-Webb, was like, "Yeah, you came from here." I was like, "Oh, awkward."
Like, I love Pitt so much. I don't like between Pitt and Gardner-Webb. I don't know which one I like more. And he's like, "Well, let me tell you this story about this Phil Fox kid."
Nick, is there anybody that jumps out to you on this on that they're going to really miss?
I mean, specifically on the CJ Funk side, I remember doing stats 2 years ago and obviously last year. I mean, when Pitt was struggling offensively, CJ Funk made up all the difference. I mean, this guy was a walk machine. His on-base percentage was top 5. His walk rate was top 5. So they're going to miss a lot of production on the base path. So I think that's going to be the biggest loss. I mean, 160 games, and I think he played almost every game his junior year as well. So, I mean, he was like the modern day Iron Man. I mean, he was really, really good. So they're going to just miss the availability of a guy that shows up all the time and just gets on base. I mean, Dom as well, but CJ really sticks out to me of this list.
Yeah, they basically lose their entire outfield in Funk, Popa, Fogel, and Turner Grau, even with their fourth guy. But they bring in a ton of guys that I'm really excited about. One of the things I do love about Pitt that they do is they bring guys back home to the Pittsburgh area, the Western Pennsylvania area. I'm a big fan of that. AJ Nessler is a guy they are bringing back to the team after a 1-year hiatus, leaving Pitt. But I know somebody like Gavin Miller over at Auburn is a local guy, and I'm just a big fan of that. Nick, we'll start with you. Is there a name that jumps off that list that you're really excited to see in Pittsburgh in the blue and gold?
Ooh, I like Lorenzo Carrier, and I also like Drew Lafferty. I think that's going to be a huge pickup for them. I also want to make a point with Pitt and like how they are getting guys transfers in and out and recruiting that. They have to battle with Penn State as well. And Penn State is an up-and-coming program, so an in-state rival. It's going to be interesting how later on down the road in years to come when Penn State's trying to build things in their own territory, how is Pitt going to respond to that? You know, these are two programs that are looking to get back into regionals. So,
yep. And Penn State is coached by the great Gambino, former ACC legend, coach at Boston College. Micah, who's jumping off this page for you? Who are you excited to see in Pittsburgh?
Wait, who's the great Gambino?
Mike Gambino.
I thought that was Babe Ruth.
No, he's the Bambino.
I'm making a joke from Sandlot. Jeez.
No, you should have done it. You should have done it better. You should have been
that wimpy deer.
Monty. Anyway,
maybe you should reference things correctly.
Never mind. Anyways. You got me all rattled now, Monty. So there's two. Andrew Gaines, I know he comes over. He had some really impressive stuff at Iona. I think he's someone I'm kind of excited to see. But I also got a random text. So I used to live in Fort Myers, and I have an old season ticket holder for the Fort Myers Miracle who goes to a lot of Florida Southwestern State games. He's not even on your key newcomers, Monty. That's how insulting this is.
Where do you see room for this person?
Right, a smaller font. I don't know what you want from me. But Isaac Uppel from FSW at JUCO down there in Fort Myers area. When he committed to Pitt, I received a text saying, "You'll be talking about him." That's all I got. So that's all I know. But I trust this guy. He watches a lot of baseball. He was very impressed with him at FSW. So that's someone I'm excited just from the standpoint of purely, getting a out of the blue text going, you're gonna talk about this guy on your show. I'm like, okay, sounds good.
Shout out Andrew Gaines, by the way. I really enjoyed seeing him pitch in the fall exhibition I was at, which was warmer in late October than it was in your visit in late March, Micah, by the way. Just
you have to wear a parka jacket. Must be nice.
And anyway, what I loved about Gaines is he's got that kind of weird, like quirky pitcher thing. Because what he would do after facing a batter, he would turn around, just stare at the sky, motionless for a good 10 seconds before taking the mound again. It was psycho behavior. I loved it. I know Nick, Nick is a big fan of psycho behavior, right? You're a Cole Rowland guy, so
huge Cole Rowland guy.
So we love when pitchers,
area,
pitchers are a little quirky and weird. But all right, let's get into the rotation. Okay. As Micah already talked about, they're losing 2/3 of their rotation, but they do bring back their Sunday guy and their midweek guy, right? That's going to be Ryan Reed and Aiden Coleman. Aiden Coleman is somebody I'm really excited about based on his summer numbers. He was electric up in New England for, I want to say, the Newport Gulls, I think that's correct. Basically what he did up there, listen to this. He went 5-0 with a 2.65 ERA and 7 starts with 45 strikeouts, just 7 walks.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That has me really excited. I mean, I think Jake and I talked about him last year getting time as a freshman, and he did get valuable midweek experience. He's a guy that's on my breakout radar, but I like the options they've got here. To start, you mentioned Drew Lafferty, Nick. Talk about what he brings to the table.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have a lot of experience too because of the playoff experience. I think that's something huge to bring into your program. Someone who's been there, done that, got all the way to Omaha. So I think that can kind of juice the boys up a little bit, mentally. I think that's huge.
Oh, absolutely. And he, for those that are not familiar, since we didn't mention, he is from Kentucky. He was their midweek guy for some of the season. The numbers aren't necessarily great, but he's a big get. Obviously, SEC experience. A guy that might go under the radar here, Patrick Gardner, who could be the ace. He went 8-2 with a 3.14 ERA and 93 strikeouts for Fairleigh Dickinson. And if Fairleigh Dickinson tickles your mind a little bit, it's because Luke Cantwell went there and they're buddies. So just throwing it out there. Micah, do you think this pitching staff, not pitching staff, but this rotation, do you think it's an improvement on last year, or where do you see it sitting versus what they had last year with Andrade, Sokol, Reed, and Coleman?
I think it's TBD because I did like Sokol so much. I think if Aiden Coleman is what you said you saw from him in the summer, then I think it could be an upgrade, but you just don't know. I think that's probably the biggest, obviously, question mark, right? It wasn't a great staff last year, but it wasn't a bad staff. So it's kind of like, okay, where does Pitt fall this year? And again, right, we've talked about it with every team. This is the deepest the conference ever been. So it's hard to be like, if you have so many unknowns, being like, yeah, they're going to be so much better. There's reasons to believe it. I am a little intrigued, Monty. You left a name off there that I thought for sure you'd have on your rotation options. So I don't know if you're going to get to him in the bullpen, but so I don't know if you want me to hold for that.
Hold
now.
Hold for a second. I will point out that everything's TBD. We're purely speculating everything at this point.
Well, I want to throw someone in the rotation then, Monty.
Okay,
He'll be in your bullpen. Matt Porter started all summer for the Pulaski River Turtles, and he was a stud all summer. He had 6 starts and under 2 ERA. I'm just saying, he's someone I thought for sure, based off what I saw him work and talking to some of the people around the Appy League, the whole reason why they started him was that was kind of the hope, was to potentially use him as a starter over at Pitt. That was what he was hoping to work on. So I'm intrigued if that ends up being the case. But just not seeing him on your options was kind of surprising to me, to be honest, especially because he is a lefty too. I know you have Patrick Gardner there as well, but I just kind of assumed you might look at potentially having a second lefty as an option.
Yeah, for everything that I had heard, I had not heard his name, but he is a guy that I forgot how good he was during the summer, but he was awesome during the fall as well. I think he's going to be a high leverage guy. I think he could be your Phil Fox replacement. He's listed second there because Ethan Firavid's going to be your stopper out of the bullpen. I feel like he's very, very good, but there's two lefties right there. But there's Andrew Gaines, and then you've got some guys. This staff feels a lot deeper than it did last year, and then you've got a couple of freshmen who might contribute there. But I mean, overall, the staff feels a little bit deeper. I'm kind of with you though, Micah. I'm not sure I can make the determination that the rotation is necessarily better on paper, but it could be. I don't think it's necessarily worse. Nick, what are your thoughts here on the pitching staff, and if any relief names jump out to you?
I think it has the potential to be better than last year. I think I kind of just agree with Micah. Jack Sokol was a big name that they lost, so I think a lot of it is to be determined. But I love hearing what Aiden Coleman did, and it does. Yeah, again, it does have the potential to be better. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little bit worse. But we'll see. I mean, they got some good guys out of the portal, so I think it has a real good shot at being better.
Yeah, I love that. I'm really excited about it. I feel like I'm trying to remember which of the guys I saw that was throwing like high 90s, which of the relievers it was, but they've got somebody who was throwing straight heat, and I don't know if it was. I want to say DeGennaro was throwing low 90s, so it might have been somebody else. But yeah, no, I'm really excited about how this pitching staff fares. Obviously, there's a lot of unknowns, but I think they've had guys from the roster last year take steps forward, and then they've gone and brought some quality inside. So, but it is interesting. I like, Micah, that you brought that up as a possibility, especially with what you saw in the Appy League, because obviously Matt Porter, I thought, had a fantastic fall. Obviously has been highlighted by several publications as a breakout candidate as a senior. You obviously saw him in a different role than some people would, and I find that really interesting. That would be a really interesting aspect, really interesting option that is going under the radar if it happens.
And someone else I want to talk about, Monty, that I saw a little bit, former Kingsport Axeman, Gavin Shalot. He struggled in Kingsport. I mean, his ERA was like a 5-something, so it wasn't terrible, but obviously wasn't anything to write home about. But obviously, you saw him kind of get regular work as a freshman last year down the stretch. I know he got some time in that game against Wake in the ACC tournament. He's someone that has the stuff, so I'm intrigued to see if he can take a step forward. I don't know if you got to see him, Monty, in the fall, and if you kind of got any word on him, but watching him in Kingsport, you could tell like he's obviously not fine-tuned yet, but he has the stuff to be a big reliever in ACC play if he can continue to progress.
Yeah, he's got a mid-90s fastball, good slider combo. It's interesting. He kind of could have that. He's got that Phil Fox physique because Phil Fox was pretty small. I think Phil Fox was like 5'9", 5'10", and I think he's a similar height. So I think that's a really nice comparison, although I was trying to remember if Fox was a righty or lefty, but I think he was righty. So it's a good comparison in my mind. But yeah, I'm glad you took the time to shout that out because I did not give him his due in my little spiel. So
also, he's one of the younger arms. I mean, obviously you've got a freshman on the list, but he's one of the younger arms we've seen too from Pitt. And I think for a program that I know Monty, I think you're the highest of all three of us with Pitt, but like if we're talking Pitt kind of being that 11th or 12th team that the ACC gets into the NCAA tournament, it's going to come from some of this youth, again, and Antonio, I'm not going to even try to say that last name.
DeGennaro.
DeGennaro?
Yep.
Okay. Antonio, I'll do my best to make sure when we get into the season, I can say it right. But like a name like that kind of stepping forward, but again, it's going to be some of these younger guys as well. Or again, a Matt Porter elevating from as a senior, right, to kind of becoming a very key piece, whether it's in the bullpen or again, coming as a starter.
Yep. All right, let's take a look at what that potential staff could be. Friday night, Ryan Reed kind of slides into it by default. I've heard that he's taken some steps forward. We'll see. Aiden Coleman on the Saturday guy, he's pictured there. Patrick Gardner from Fairleigh Dickinson in there. And then Drew Lafferty ends up in the midweek. Obviously, you did have the choice with Noah Sychowski. But you're looking at that, and Ethan Faraved's going to be your relief ace. But I believe Matt Porter, Andrew Gaines, Gavin Chillo, Kyle Demi, those are all guys that are going to be fighting for high leverage innings, and will have a chance to be the Phil Fox replacement, if that makes sense.
Do you think they have a Phil Fox replacement on the roster, Monty? Like an actual, because Phil Fox was one of the better closers, maybe top 3 in the conference. Maybe even higher if you want to talk about what he meant to his team.
Chances are they don't have a replacement. I mean the odds are, but
I just didn't know if you saw anybody that you're like, okay. I know you said, like, for example, Gavin Chillo kind of built the same way. I just didn't know if you kind of saw when you were there in the fall, or you heard some things, right? Like, this guy can be. I mean, obviously we know guys can be, but I just didn't know if there was like if you had to bet, like, can you replace a Phil Fox? I mean, obviously you can't probably replace the exact version of him, but can you get 95% of the way there? I just don't know how comfortable.
I think they're going to have to do it in the aggregate and just have a better staff overall, rather than necessarily having that shutdown guy like Phil Fox was, because he was basically automatic. Yeah. But on the other hand, one of the things I noticed from the fall, their pitching staff was attacking the zone. I think they had 21 strikeouts as well in their win over Mercyhurst. So, I mean, again, it was a scrimmage. You got to take that into account. But, I mean, very impressive from a staff that has been much maligned over the last decade or so.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, let's talk about their catchers, my guy. They got a pretty familiar name there starting at catcher, don't they?
Jaden Melendez.
Is that not familiar to you?
That's why I'm offended, Monty. You had a perfect chance for me to be all in on not only Jaden Melendez, but Kingsport Axman's finest, Sebastian Pisacreta.
I was about to. I was going to swing it to you for Pisacreta, and also we hadn't heard from Nick in a hot second, so I just expected him to be ready.
If Micah wants to take it, he can take it. I won't be offended.
I mean, right. I mean, Melendez is going to be your guy. I mean, he, what was it, 40-some games behind home plate last year, Monty? I mean, I know he started a lot back there. So obviously he's going to be, he's a very sound defensive catcher. Didn't he lead the team in home runs too? Is that right, Monty? It sound right to you? With, I think it was like 15 or 16.
16.
Are we drinking the same drink, Monty? That's besides the point. Do we have a little Big K Cola Zero going on over here, Monty?
Oh, we do.
Let's go.
I thought there was
Kroger. Free advertisement for the day.
Soda, name brand sodas have gotten out of control. So
facts, they're so expensive. So give me the Big K Cola Zero Sugar. I was like, what's this same drink? Anyways, Nick, where's yours? Come on, buddy. I know you don't drink soda. That's against your, no seed oil lifestyle. But anyways, like Sebastian Pisacreta is probably the better offensive guy. But, you have good options both ways. Melendez obviously has the pop at Monty. I mean, he did struggle a little bit last year in terms of, it was kind of a strikeout or homer or a strikeout. Like, wasn't he like top 10 or 15 in the conference in strikeouts? Maybe I'm mixing. I'm mixing up. I'm thinking someone else. Oh, wait.
Yeah,
we'll get to a different position later. But he kind of struggled with that. But, and again, he only had 20 extra base hits. 16 of them left the yard, but, obviously he wasn't necessarily an extra base hits machine. So I think if his bat can take a huge step forward, which I think it can. Again, I'm very high on Sebastian Pisacreta. He's probably not going to be, again, your everyday catcher, but hinting at where Monty may be placing him later in the show.
Yeah. I mean, you can bring it up now. He's
going to be your DH.
Yeah. They're going to split time between the roles.
Mm-hmm.
And I love doing that because it gives your catchers some chances to rest without being out of the lineup. But yeah, Pisacreta had a monster fall. Like, the MVP stats he had, I wish I had them up in front of me, but like the MVP stats he had for the Blue Gold series.
So was he the MVP of the Blue and Gold series?
Yeah, it was absurd. It was like, there was like multiple extra base. It was a 3-game series and he had like multiple extra base hits, went like 4 for 5 or something like that. Just had a monster fall. He was also like he won their competition for like, they had a little thing going on where like based on results of balls put in play, you get points, or based on what you did with, your at bats, you got points, and he won that as well. So they've got really high expectations for him. let's move along. Maybe Nick can talk about this guy a little bit.
If Nick actually did the stats last year, he'll be able to talk about him.
Yeah.
Yes. I love Cantwell. He had an over 300 average, 10 extra bases, 10 homers. Dude was a stud and probably one of their better bats throughout the lineup. He's going to be one of the better first basemen in the ACC, I think.
Yeah, he didn't he lead.
He was in the top three. I think
he was in the top. He was in the top.
Did he lead the league though in hit by pitches? I think he. I know for.
Oh no, Wallace Clark did.
I didn't do hit by pitches, but that would be something interesting to look up.
Wallace Clark led it with 24.
That's right. He gets hit. He gets on base. What's the old point to you?
Hey, I get that reference.
Hey, here we go.
Did you guys see Luke Cantwell mic'd up during like Cape Cod?
Yes.
Like he's electric. He's an electric personality. I'm so excited he's back. I mean, I think he had enough of an approach and enough of a ability to be drafted. Didn't work out, but glad to have him back. I think not to plug D1 or anything, but I think they had him as their fourth best first baseman in the country.
That honestly checks. I mean, he's the type of guy when we already did our ACC, preview show, like our accolades. He's a dark horse player of the year candidate if there is one. I mean, he has the potential. If Pitt has a year that we think is possible, NCAA tournament type run, it's probably because Luke Cantwell's hitting the living cover off the ball. Yep.
I'm going to fill in the rest of the infield here. We've got somebody. Man. Yeah, I was going to say somebody really excited to talk about. But before we get to that, before we get to him, I do want to talk about second base. I thought it was going to be pretty clear. Gavin Miller was the front runner, and then I got up there and I saw Caden Doolin hit, and he's a JUCO transfer. Kid hit.
These stats are insane.
Yeah, 59
games. Are wild.
400. He's got a 496 batting average, 30 doubles.
He almost averaged 2 RBIs a game.
98 RBIs. He walked 42 times. Now, I mean, that's insane for even JUCO. Like, that is bonkers.
My favorite.
And he only struck out 10 times.
10 strikeouts in 59 games. That's crazy.
Especially
considering that was like Pitt's Achilles heel last year was a lot of strikeout guys. That could be a nice change of pace in the lineup.
Yep.
I'm starting to get a little bit higher on this lineup now. Yep. As we talk.
Oh no, the Gritsburg is spreading.
Let's go.
It's starting to spread, Micah.
Nick's getting gritty.
I do love Pittsburgh. I do love that city.
Getting to Micah, you want to talk about our boy Zuckerman a little bit?
He was one of the best freshmen in the country last year. Like I kind of feel bad for Ryan Zuckerman because there were so many good freshmen in the ACC last year. Obviously, Drew Burst, freshman of the year, just one to gotta plug my boy. But I mean, Dan, obviously, and that's what stinks is like there was a third baseman in the conference that was better than him. Yet Zuckerman had an incredible freshman year with obviously Daniel Cuvée at Miami. So it's like he's another guy that I don't think enough people have heard about, know about. Like those watching, I know we have a lot of people that like to follow the ACC now. We're very thankful. Shout out to you, Monty, for building our platform the way you did. No Ryan Zuckerman, man. This kid is capable. Like there's a world where I see him and Cuvée battling for first team all ACC. Like Zuckerman's one of those guys, if Pitt's having the year that we think they're capable of, if you can cut down on some of those strikeouts, he's got good pop. He's got decent speed. He's sound defensively. I'm excited to see him just continue to grow because he had a good year last year. He could have a very great year this year.
Well, you're going to be even more impressed with the year he had when you realize he missed the whole fall last year.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know it either until they mentioned that, and I was like, oh. So that
he had a whole fall to get even better. Great,
right? That makes his freshman year all the more impressive in my eyes because you miss that critical first fall as a freshman that can really set you behind. Jake Kendro, probably your weakest hitter in the lineup here. He strikes out a ton. Doesn't have a ton of power, but defensively pretty good. So. But
he was the second baseman though last year, wasn't he, Monty?
No, Bishke was.
Oh.
So.
Why am I? Was he? Did he play any second base? I swear I saw him in this at second base. Maybe I'm just losing my mind. I mean, I know you're right.
It's possible. It's possible that LaSala may have come in and played some shortstop and pushed him over. Maybe a little bit.
I don't know.
But he, for the most part, he was the shortstop. Yeah. I don't know if it was every time, but you may have actually seen him play second base.
Yeah, I mean, I know he was not every day, but the usual shortstop. For some reason, I don't know. That Virginia series, there was a lot of runs scored, and it was freezing cold. So I might have been so numb to everything that I didn't even realize what was happening.
And relatively early on in conference play. But
I had Manny Brothers every day, so I had meat sweats.
Excuse me?
Monty Brothers.
There we go. Nick, anybody else jumping off your page? Do you want to talk about Ryan Zuckerman? I mean, I love that guy.
I mean,
actually, so Nick, before you go, I just got to make sure everyone knows that Monty actually has a poster of him on his wall. It's behind the screen right now, so you can't see it. But where his camera is, there's a giant shrine to Pittsburgh baseball, and Ryan Zuckerman's front and center.
Yeah, it's definitely not a former Washington third baseman with a similar name that went to UVA named Ryan Zimmerman.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Nick, go ahead before Micah tries to interrupt you again.
One more time. No, I was kidding.
It's okay. I'm used to it. Like I mentioned before, Lorenzo Carrier, if he can turn his season around a little bit, I think that he could be a key piece. Look, we know that the lineup last year was not all that impressive, the batting order. So if they can get some of these guys like Carrier, who's a transfer, and Jake Kendro, just to turn their seasons around, this could be a sneaky, very good lineup. So I'm kind of looking out for Lorenzo Carrier, the transfer from Miami. I think that would be huge.
He also, Carrier led the team in home runs in the fall. He had a great fall, looks very strong. Sounds like he's probably going to get a chance to bat cleanup. The outfield, I like the outfield. I was having trouble determining who the three guys would be because obviously AJ Nessler is a big option in left field as well. So trying to figure out who the three of the four guys would be was difficult. But I'm pretty high on the lineup now. The strikeouts that Micah mentioned do need to come down a little bit. I think that'll happen with Zuckerman naturally as he gets more maturity as a sophomore. But Kendro coming up as a junior now and Melendez as a senior, they've really got to cut those down a bit. But I like the speed in the outfield as well. And the talent out there. Micah?
Yeah. So we've moved to outfield, right? I'm not making sure.
Yeah. We moved to outfield. Thanks, Nick.
I'm gonna say I just want to make sure. Nick just skipped the whole infield. Just said I'm done with the infield. Well, I'm surprised Nick didn't go with a different outfielder. I thought he was at this game. Nick, did you go to the Wake Forest Dayton game last year? I swear you were there.
Yes, I did. Yeah,
you probably forgot.
Then you saw David Monty pronunciations.
Padano.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. David Padano had a clutch RBI, not clutch, but a big RBI in that game. He comes in. I know he was he top 5 in the A10 in batting or something like that. I know he was. He'd be
up there. He'd be up there.
That's a big pickup for Pitt. I know when that transfer, 64 Analytics had that as one of the better portal pickups in the sport. So I'm really excited to see him out there. I'm also obviously Monty. I don't want to steal too much, but Derek Tarpley, Youngstown State transfer. Excited to kind of see what he can bring to the table too, because he was someone that, if I'm not mistaken, I wrote about because we had to talk about them early in the year with some of their matchups. Because he was when I wrote about him, he was drafted, and he obviously chose to go play college. Not to say that it's super strange, but it is kind of crazy to think that he got drafted, but then chose to go play at Youngstown State. Like you normally hear, oh, I got drafted, and then is going to a Power 4 school or something like that.
I want to say you wrote about early in the season, so it was probably Louisville, because I want to say Youngstown State was their first
that's
win.
Who it was.
Yeah,
there it is.
Because that was remember Louisville was started 0-4 and had including a loss.
And Youngstown State were like, if you lose this weekend, you're screwed.
Yeah. So
yeah. But
yeah,
I'm excited to see him again. He was someone that, not a very good program in Youngstown State, but he was a big part of that program.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. I'm really liking the way this has shown up, and we can take a look here at the potential lineup. There's Sebastian Pisacreta down there at DH, as you expected me to put him there. Micah, no big surprise there. But one of the interesting things that I noticed as I was putting this together, when I projected the lineup on the left, I did not take into account necessarily the lefty-righty matchups, and that's where AJ Nessler might become a factor because he's a left-handed bat, and they only have one left-handed bat in my current projected batting order in Luke Cantwell.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good lineup though. Like Monty, like this is one of those things where I enjoy these shows because, right, we look into what we can find. Obviously you did a great job with, our little cheat sheet and obviously trying to read some fall reports from D1 and so on and so forth. But until you really start to talk it with other people, you don't really realize like, hey, like, this team's actually capable of stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know if I'd change my rankings, but Monty, I might for fun do my power rankings again. I probably won't post them, but just do them for fun after these deep dives. Because kind of what Nick said, like the more I kind of read into this, like if Pitt takes the step forwards that we think that program is capable of, this is a fun team to kind of watch this year.
Yeah,
and again, they backed their way into the ACC tournament last year, so they were kind of getting hot down the stretch. Obviously that Florida State series is the one that stands out the most, but it definitely didn't help. But they're my first taste of Pitt baseball, and my only true taste of Pitt baseball in person was not a very good one in terms of for Pitt.
No, and we'll get into why Pitt might still. I mean, Pitt is definitely better than they were last year. The problem is are they going to see more success on the field because their schedule? We'll get into their schedule in a second, and also how good the rest of the conference is. But Nick, what are your thoughts here on this lineup? Are you're feeling gritty, right?
Yeah, I'm starting to. I mean, I had Pitt lower than you guys. I had them 14. So if I were to like by the end when we're done with all these deep dives, I might just like off to the side do a little redo of the power rankings. Obviously, I'll just do what Micah did and just keep the one that I submitted. But, I wouldn't be surprised if Pitt moves up pretty fast up in my power rankings as the non-conference goes on, because I think this lineup really can do some damage, man.
Yep. And again, even with AJ Nessler in the lineup, they only have two lefties, but still, they're going to mash some left-handed pitching, I think. They do have Logan Duffy as well as a bench piece who can hit lefty. But, looking at this schedule and Micah looking at the way it's out here, I know there's a certain matchup that really would have stuck out to Micah had it been, maybe 5 months ago or so. Maybe
March 7th through the 9th. They're cooked. I still love my Buck boys.
They are playing some difficult mid-majors. UNCG is not an easy team to go and face, and they've got them, at the end of February and then into March. But they start ACC play against Georgia Tech on the road.
You can take the Micah out of the SoCon. You can't take the SoCon out of Micah because I don't know if you saw D1 Baseball released their SoCon preview today, actually, and guess who came in at number 2 and number 3 in the pecking order? UNCG and ETSU. ETSU boasts probably the best rotation in the SoCon. All 3 guys that we had last year are back again this year, so they're going to be good on that side of the ball, kind of figuring out their offense. And UNCG, a little bit different, I kind of know who their offense is now. It's kind of figuring out their pitching staff. It's a lot more challenging of a non-con than they had last year. Obviously, they had that Vegas tournament, but besides that, it really wasn't much. Eastern Michigan's a team that I've heard is kind of taking a step forward in the MAC this year. So between that, I mean, I'm feel bad for everyone that's going to be there February 25th against Bucknell. I don't even want to know. They should do like temperature Tuesdays for that game, whatever the first pitch is. That's if it's 25 degrees, tickets are $2.50 because it's going to be cold. But
yeah, what I want to point out about this schedule here in a second, I am planning to go to that first UNCG game on February 28th. Yep. Planning on seeing Pitt on the 28th, and then I will be back in Richmond for the weekend to see BC while they're in town. But if you look at those last 10 games, West Virginia and Penn State are your midweeks. Then you've got Wake Forest on the road and Clemson at home.
Hey, they're playing the type of baseball they were playing that last 2 weeks like they were last year.
That's true.
Like, hey, Monty, where's the color guide?
It's
is
yellow.
Gold home?
Gold is road.
Clemson's screwed.
They would probably have preferred Clemson in some colder weather. I'm hoping to possibly get up to Pittsburgh for that Virginia Tech series at the beginning of the month. But, they do have some decent schedule stuff with, they do get Virginia Tech. They do get Boston College. It doesn't look like they're going out west. Nope. So that's good.
Cal Pitt would have been a beautiful uniform matchup. John, if you're watching, what are we doing, buddy? What are we doing?
Yeah. Since everyone knows that John is the only one that makes the schedule. No.
If you want his email, I'm just kidding.
No. It's
his phone number is
Nick, what jumps out to you on this list? By the way, the West Virginia series, I do not know if that's at if one of those is at PNC again.
Are they playing 3 times or just 2?
Just 2. It looks like just the April 2nd and then May 6th.
They're probably Pitt might still choose to play it at PNC just for more people, but I don't know.
Yeah. Nick?
Love that they're playing Bucknell in February at home. I think I'm gonna try my very best to tune into that game if I have to go through some paywalls or something.
It'll be on ESPN Plus, Nick.
I thought
it might be on ACC Network if it's like an afternoon game or something. But
I thought Nick was going to say he was going to try and go to that game.
I'm like, yeah, driving up. Dude, okay, the sicko.
No, but hey, Monty, I might actually come and try to join you, depending on what time it is, that UNCG game. That could be fun. I might come see you.
You know what?
I'll definitely. What?
I was going to say, what won't be fun is a home opener in February in Pittsburgh.
That's also true.
It'll be fun to watch on TV from the warmth of our own house. But
I went. Yeah. Did I go in March or April? I must have gone in March.
It was March. It was like March 23rd.
Wasn't that their first home series, Micah?
Georgia Tech, you're screwed. Drew Burris, if you're watching, man, bring the
Georgia Tech's hosting. That's yellow is road.
Oh my gosh. NC State, you're screwed.
There you go.
Why is blue? I'm so confused.
Monty,
this is being power ranked really low on the ACC schedule release.
I love putting the graphics together and being like, Micah is going to hate this.
So I got a text, Monty, quick 30-second segue from one of our guys at Lamar. He was like, I hate the Florida State schedule graphic, and you complimented it. What the heck? And I was like, it was one of the better ones I saw. He goes, they must have some crappy ones in the ACC then.
Are you sure you did?
I thought he said I did.
Oh, wow. Because I remember they had a typo or they had a little incorrection when they first released it because they had Florida State with 6 home series instead of 5. And I was like, what the heck? Like, they only leave the state of Florida 3 times. Yeah. But it was Virginia Tech was a road series and they had it listed as a home. But, interesting. But let's get into talking about.
Can I finish?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I wanted to keep talking about their schedule.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Gonna try. I'll probably see them when they come to Winston. I might see them when they come to Durham. That would be fun. Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. That could be really fun.
You're not gonna be there, Nick. Do you not even pay attention to what you say in the group chat? Aren't you spending Easter in California?
No.
Beginning of the month.
Beginning of the month. That's 2 weeks before.
Why are you doing the beginning? Okay, no, it's a different conversation for later. But
yeah. What else? I think they're the way. I mean, they play all 4 North Carolina teams, so that's going to be a challenge in itself because all 4 are going to be ranked. Yeah, I kind of like this schedule. I mean, it kind of evens out home and away. I think they kind of did pit some kind of justice of giving them Clemson, NC State, and Carolina at home. So I think they did them some justice when, some northern teams they have to play throughout all of February and some of the beginning half of March on the road. You're muted.
Mute button, buddy. Monty.
Yep. Sorry, apologies for eating on the stream as well because I've been working all day and did not get a chance to eat dinner, and then it was ready right before we recorded. But anyway, this is now our longest episode. So we've really gone hard on Pittsburgh, but let's ask the question everyone wants to know. Is this the year they make the NCAA tournament for the first time since 1995? Nick, we'll start with you.
Wait, what? It's been since 1995 they've made the NCAA tournament?
I believe so.
So 2 of the 3 people on this podcast were not alive the last time Pitt made the NCAA tournament.
What, were you the only one that was alive? Because I'm only like 24.
Sorry, none of us were alive when Pitt last made the NCAA tournament?
Really calling me out there. Let
Well,
me just double check.
You're 29. Geez, chill.
Yep, they've made the NCAA tournament 3 times, 59, 65, and 95.
Wow.
That's
actually mind-blowing.
Like I didn't expect them to be like, oh, like they've been, maybe twice in my lifetime, but like, oh my. Is there any team in the ACC that has a longer drought? There can't be, right?
No.
Is there anybody even with a 10-year drought in the ACC besides Pitt?
No.
If it would have been Boston College, but that was they made it 2 years ago.
Yeah, Cal's made the tournament in the last few years, right?
Yep. They've been to like Omaha, I feel like, in the last 15.
Probably. Oh my gosh. You know what?
So,
Pitt wins the ACC this year. I'm changing my score. We're going to party like it's 95.
All right. So once again, Nick, we're starting with you after Micah has had to get in there.
I think this is kind of I remember Micah talking about the Notre Dame situation, and like this team is better. I think their lineup is better. I think that their rotation has the potential to be better than last year, but the conference also got better again. It's just, are they going to be able to sneak their way in? I don't know. They need to do themselves some justice, and they need some dominoes to fall their way. They need maybe Virginia Tech not to make it. Maybe again, Notre Dame not to make it. Cal, they have some teams that could be ahead of them that they need to beat. And that they need also to like fall out of their way without their doing. So they definitely have the potential. I think their chances are slightly better than last year.
Love that. I'm going to go ahead and say yes, they do it. I believe in Mike Bell. I believe in Pitt. I think they're making the NCAA tournament. They're going to surprise some people. They're sneaky good. But that's going to do it for us. Longest episode. Micah, I thought you answered when you had your interruption. I'm sorry, that is not going to do it for us. Micah is going to give his opinion if they're going to do it. I thought he had. Apparently, he has not given his opinion. So
I don't think they're going to do it, Monty. I don't think they're going to do it.
I'm going to go ahead and mute Micah, and that's going to do it for us here for the rest of the episode. We'll be back tomorrow night with Stanford. So looking forward to that. We'll be back in just another 24 hours.